One which I think is basically yours is the strengthening of family as a center of nurture. This one is basically going to be done by you yourselves. And yes, we are all leaders, but this is basically yours. Harnessing the demographic dividend of the young people. We are all aware that 78% of our population is below the age of 30. And to us, government has put in place a number of interventions that are geared, and we know that they are unemployed. We know that Uganda is gifted by nature. That's why government is putting in place a number of interventions. For example, parish development model. We have put 30% of our total budget into the youth program. 30% of that money is going to the youth. And we know that other beneficiaries will also help the youth to come up, because the family unit, like you have said, has got the elderly, has got the youth, and has got the PWDs. So government categorized these into percentages. So my request is that you help us mobilize the youth to take advantage of the parish development model, because there is a lot of money that now translates to almost 300 billion to the youth. This will help us to reduce on the pressure on government for those people who lack jobs. The credible and peaceful political process and governance. You talked about the fact that you have recognized the growing acts of abuse in society, including torture of political opponents. To me, this is not right. Domestic violence, that one is right. Physical torture, this is questionable. Abductions, this is questionable, because you know the type of political players we have. Recently, I saw a young man who revealed to us that people came to him and told him they are going to use him so that government can be seen as insensitive. The fact is, you know that the political players we have now are .com, and therefore they will use any avenue to depict government as insensitive. There are no political killings. I presented a report on the floor of Parliament that was very categorical. Of course, you know that government has been supporting the law on homosexuality. You are aware. And I believe this government has done. And I want you to credit government for this effort. Lastly, the partnership with government. This is a welcome idea, and I promise that I will use my political office to make sure that, like we have been having a number of meetings with you, to make sure that this partnership is harnessed further. I welcome the idea of resource mobilization, because sometimes, as you are aware, I've had a number of meetings with some political players on both sides, both the opposition and NRM. We really need to mobilize resources for you. And the president is aware. Recently, in cabinet, He was like, what should we do to make sure that our religious people have resources that they can use to build churches, that they can use to do many things? And we know you can. So government, I'm surprised to see that government is now reducing on the funding, and yet the president directed otherwise. So I promise to use my powers as Prime Minister to see that your budget is reinstated. Where possible, it can even be enhanced. Because this is a directive from the head of state. And lastly, I felt I should use this opportunity to inform you, the people of God, that the media these days is awash with Mabati. I felt I needed, because I saw your sermons on Easter, they all zeroed on Mabati. Let me give you authentic information on iron sheets in the office of the Prime Minister. I want to give you a summary, just a summary, to open up so that you people can know what is inside there. Early February, I was called by ISO that there was a problem somewhere in eastern Uganda. So I instituted and used my powers. So these investigations you are seeing, I'm making by government, not anybody. So that shows you how government is willing to fight corruption. It's not any of you who came up with these ideas, it's government. And we are using our government institutions and investigating agencies to see that we put this to an end. These institutions were instituted by government, and it is these institutions that brought up these ideas, not the opposition, not you, the religious leaders. But let me give you bueno now. The office of the Prime Minister has got a number of ministries that buy iron sheets and distribute them. One of them is Karamoja Affairs. In 2020-2021 budget, Karamoja Affairs bought iron sheets to a total of 10,614. So the iron sheets have been on for quite some long time. I believe since 2007, government has been giving iron sheets through the normal budget to the Ministry of Karamoja, the Ministry of Bunyora Affairs, the Ministry of Teso, the Ministry of Northern Uganda, to mention but a few. So in this case, the office of the Prime Minister last year was given a supplementary budget of 39 billion. Out of that budget, 7.8 billion was used to buy iron sheets, and a total of 95,044 pieces were bought, in addition to 10,614. A total of 105,000 iron sheets, 658 were bought for the office of the Prime Minister for Karamoja Affairs. So out of this, the total number of iron sheets released are 24,114. In the store, we have 81,544 as we talk. This came after the investigations. I wrote to the stores and said, please don't release any piece of iron sheets until the investigations are done. The Ministry of Northern Uganda bought 19,170 iron sheets. Out of these, 14,647 iron sheets have been taken or released, and 4,523 are still in the store. That store does not only have iron sheets for Karamoja. Then it's three. The Ministry of Test Affairs bought 4,982. Out of those, 2,086 pieces have been taken. So we still have 2,996 in the store. That is for TESA fares. The Ministry of Municipal Affairs bought 9,274. Out of this, all the 9,274 iron sheets have been distributed across the sub-region of Bunyoro. Luwero Rwenzori had a budget that bought 6,956 iron sheets, and all this is distributed. We don't have, but there are those that are now coming in the store. But because of these investigations, we stopped the suppliers from delivering in the store. The Disaster Preparedness Ministry in 2020-2021 had a balance of 4,200 iron sheets. The ministry bought 23,425. That makes a total of 27,625. 26,220 have been taken. So in the store, under the Ministry of Disaster Preparedness, we have 1,405 iron sheets. So a total of 89,754 iron sheets are still in the store. The store is not empty. But when you see these media people, they bring it empty. The store is heavy, is still heavy. However, we don't condone the idea of diverting items for individual groups or vulnerable people. So we don't. That's why we constituted these investigations. So I want to tell you that in 2021, when I came to the office of the Prime Minister, I found out that the iron sheets that were being distributed had no mark. So I developed the idea of branding the relief items in the office of the Prime Minister, including iron sheets, and with the wording, Office of the Prime Minister, not for sale, for ease of identification, accountability, and to avoid commercialization. This idea has been supported by everybody, and to me, this is a plus on my part. Because the idea of branding these iron sheets has made it easy for investigating agencies to quickly identify the mabati for the office of the Prime Minister from those on the open market.